just hang tight and we will jump in a second. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about today, one of my favorite subjects. So we will have some fun. Hang tight. I'm going to wait a couple more minutes here. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, how's it going, Matt?
Good. We got Kevin and we got Lou on as well. I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes and see if anybody else jumps on. And we got a lot of good stuff to talk about.
Okay, sounds good. Oh, let's see.
One of my favorite subjects today, stepping out of your business.
Stepping out of your business, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds good.
Well, I think we are going to kind of get started here. Everybody can watch the replay. It's Lou, right? How's it going?
Well, good. Thanks.
Well, cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started. There'll probably be some people that file in a little bit later. Other than that, they can always watch the replay. So can you guys. So I wanted to get started here. I got some good stuff to share. So stepping out of your business. So the first thing you do, so let me back up. So, I've built my company to a really large level, and we've got some really, really cool stuff coming down the pipeline. You guys will find out about later. But I built my company to a really big level. And one of the biggest things that happens to most real estate investors, if they grow their business and they build it up, a lot of times what that equals is it equals more money, but it equals way more stress, and for sure a lot more hours. And so that's really not the goal of a real business. You want to be able to grow a business to the point where you still enjoy life and you can still do all the other fun stuff out there that there is. I kind of talk about this a lot. I go to every weekend, I go to my lake house. I don't work during the weekends. I take, a lot of times I take Friday off, Saturday off, Sunday off, sometimes Monday, and I try to relax and do my own thing. Now, I'm not saying I'm lazy. I worked a lot of hours for years and years and years. And so I've just gotten smarter over time. And so I try to work less. Now, that doesn't mean I don't put in long days. There's still days I'll put in 12 hours. I just don't work as much in my real estate business. I got other businesses that I do as well, that are growing pretty good. And so, I just want to make sure everybody goes into this thing with the end in mind. So the first thing that I want to ask you guys to always keep in mind is where do you need to decide where you want to, what the ideal outcome is. What do you want to build, and how do you see yourself, and where are your goals for that lifestyle? And then you need to write it down. Okay, this is something that you want to write it down and keep it in front of you. A lot of times when we write out our goals, at least this is how I was, I'm sure this is how everybody else is too, you write down deals goals. Like you want to do X amount of deals, which is great. I want to make X amount of money. I want to wholesale X amount of deals. I want to own X amount of rental properties. I want to flip X amount of houses. And so everybody writes down that stuff, and they forget to write down, what is my ideal outcome? Okay. Now the only way you end up where you want to be is if you focus on that thing. So what is your ideal outcome? Where do you see yourself in X amount of years? And, what is your lifestyle like? So for example, it's really, really easy to set, 1 year goals because you can kind of see a year out. It's a little bit harder to set a 3 or 5 or 10-year goal. The most successful people I know, though, set really long-term goals. They focus mostly on their day-to-day, on their short-term goals, but their long-term goals are very well focused. Now, I will say this, most people overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year, but they underestimate what they accomplish in 5 years or 10 years. So let me just tell you, I'll just, speak from experience. When I got into real estate 15 years ago, my 15 years will be in November. So we're talking less than 2 months, will be my 15 years since I did my very first deal. And when I did my first deal, it's funny because I went through a coaching program back then, and they called me and asked me what my goal was in real estate. And I didn't remember any of this. They actually, like 12 years later, they said, "Hey, we pulled the transcripts from your very first call, and this is what you told us, Matt." So imagine this. So I told them when I started in real estate, I told them my goal was to make $5,000. That was my full goal I wanted to accomplish in real estate. That was it. That was the transcripts they pulled and they told me. So, I didn't have these goals of building this huge, enormous company. I didn't even really know what was possible. But for me, $5,000 was a lot of money back then, and that was my goal. So I get started in 2005, and by the end of 1 year, I had done 12 deals. By the end of year 2, I had 22 total deals done. So I did 12 my first year, I did 10 my second year, and then in the third year, I did 19. So let's just take a step back. So now we're in 2008. I had no idea when I started in 2005 that 2008 would be a really bad year and create opportunity for real estate investors. When the market crashes, that's a good thing if you've got the right strategy. You can make a lot of money in a down market. So, but I want to open up your eyes a little bit to kind of what happened to me. So in 2008, I had built up a portfolio of about 30 houses, and those houses brought me in about $5,000 a month in net cash flow after all expenses were paid. Okay. Not a ton, but for me at that time, I drove this is 12 years ago. I drove a Ford Taurus, beat up, 200,000 miles on it, dented on both sides. And I had about $20,000 in cash in the bank, but I had $5,000 a month coming in, whether I worked or not, just through managing my rental properties. That was the net cash flow. So I was basically free. If you added up all my expenses, and I didn't have a lot of expenses personally back then because I sold everything I owned and got rid of everything. So I had a little bit of a leverage, but here's the amazing part. Now I don't remember the exact goals I set 5 years later, but 5 years later, my portfolio was 450 houses, and I had 7 figures in cash in the bank. So how is that possible? 4 or 5 years later, all that happened. Well, the market opened up and it became possible. But if you would have told me in 2008, hey man, this is where you're going to be in 5 years, I would have laughed in your face. I would have said, there's no way possible. So let me tell you, so a lot of these goals, you have to kind of, like the further out ones, you have to kind of almost act in faith that it could happen. So backing up, I want you to write down what is your ideal outcome. And what I mean by that is how many hours, like where do you see yourself? Do you see yourself living in the same place you're doing deals? Some people may already not be living in the same place they're doing deals. So do you see yourself living in the same place you're doing deals? Are you living somewhere where you can operate the business remotely? Or are you living in the area that you are living in, but you're doing deals in, but what hours are you working? Like, what do you see as your daily role? Where do you want to be? And so, and you know, some people might be like, hey, I love working a lot of hours and that's what I want to do. And that's great. That's what you should, that's your ideal outcome. I can tell you that as you get older, things do change for you. Like if you get, you know, older and you have a family, or you just get older and you want to slow down a little bit, but you need to write down your ideal outcome and what it is. I mean, I would get like crystal clear. I would be like, okay, I want to work these days. I want to take weekends off. I want to place for the weekends. I want to live here. I want to be doing this. Here's the role I want to be in my company. Okay. So I would really think through your ideal outcome. Now what I want to do is I want to, now I want you to decide what it is that you are really, really good at in real estate and you love to do, and what you are not good at in real estate and what you don't like to do. Let me tell you guys, you know, I had this chip on my shoulder when I first got into real estate and I started getting some success. I had it in my mind that I was the best at everything and nobody could beat me at a single thing. And I had myself convinced of that. Let me tell you, nobody's the best at everything. And there's going to be things that you don't like to do that you shouldn't be doing. Your job is not to be the solution. I don't want you guys to be the magic in your business. If you're the magic, a lot of times you can be in trouble down the road as the thing grows. So I want you. So what I do is the way to do this is I take a piece of paper. And I draw a line down the middle. I create two different sides on the paper. And on the left side, I write down things I'm not good at or don't want to do. And then on the right side, so the left side, things I'm not good at, things I don't want to do. The right side now, you write the things you love to do, or you're good at them. So left side, hate to do them, not good at it. Right side, love to do, good at. Then you start writing those. Now you start brainstorming. Okay, this is where you kind of just run down. There's two ways to do this. You can sit down at a desk and just start writing it out. Like, oh man, I love talking to sellers. I love the negotiation part. Like that's fun for me, but I don't like paperwork. I don't want to go online and send out, my postcards and go through the whole process of the postcard sending. I don't want to text, do text marketing. But I love cold calling. I like the cold calling part. I'll do that part. So you gotta go through and make lists of what you really love to do or you're good at, and the stuff that you're not good at and you don't love to do. So you can sit down and do it like we just talked about and just brainstorm it out, write it out. Or the other thing is you keep the piece of paper with you and you make a running tally of it as your day goes on, as you're doing deals. Like, man, all right, I got to go find more cash buyers. Man, I just hate the process of finding cash buyers. I just don't like doing it. But you got to do it in the beginning. You're doing everything, right? In the beginning, at one time, I did every job in my company. Now, if I know what I know now, if I had to start from zero, I would still hire a virtual assistant day one, and I would get the things off my plate that I don't want to do. Okay, some of you guys might still be discovering that. So I can tell you this, one word of advice. Now, this may not be exactly the way it is for you, but one word of advice. You really want to focus on the activities that produce the most income. That's really what you should be focused on, right? So talking to sellers and putting houses under contract at deep discounts, that is a income generating activity. That's important. Like that takes a skill set. or selling a house, dispositioning a house in wholesaling. That takes a skill set. That's an income producing activity. Literally right before we jumped on here, I had a guy texting me that I haven't sold him a house in, I don't know, probably 3 years ago was the last house that I wholesaled him. And he kind of just disappeared, did some deals and started doing some stuff with a partner and whatever, but just reached out to me. He's a good cash buyer. Just reached out to me, man, I need a duplex and I need a fourplex right now. Well, now I don't even do dispositions in my company, but he's like, I get your emails, man. I see the properties, but I don't want to deal with you on email. I just want to text you. So that's worth my time, because if I wholesale him a 4-unit building, I might make $20,000. Is it worth my time to send a few text messages and a couple emails to a guy if I'm going to make 20 grand? Heck yes. I'll do that all day. So you want to focus your time on the stuff that is income generating activities. But I will say this, some people don't like sales. Okay. Now I'll just tell you, the sales aspect of your business is the highest, best income producing activity you can do. But if you don't like sales, you shouldn't be doing sales. However, you better find somebody that can, because if you don't sell anything, you're not making any money. Okay. So that's one thing. Now, one little cheat way, not to go on a tangent, but if you're not good at sales, you can find a realtor that understands wholesaling, that has buyers that you can just send deals to the realtor and let the realtor go sell it. That's one little way. I wholesaled a house 2 weeks ago with that exact thing. I got a property in a neighborhood that I don't deal in. It's more of a, kind of a little higher crime area, and it's not an area I know very well, but I know a realtor that just loves it. So I sent him the deal, and with a realtor, you don't even have to wholesale it. You can just show him the deal. They can do a one-time showing agreement, and he can get a commission legally on a deal that you're wholesaling. It's kind of a cool little technique. So the funny thing is, what I wholesaled it for, he made more than I did. But do I care that he made more than I did? No, because I didn't know the buyer. It doesn't matter. But so you want to make sure that, if you don't like sales and it's just not for you, you've got to find somebody else that can do that part for you. Okay. So keep the running list going. You should always be focused on getting the things off your plate you don't like to do. Your personal happiness will skyrocket. And also too, this is another thing that, at least this happens to me, if I don't want to do a specific part or a specific job, I procrastinate it. I just put it off. I'm like a go-getter. I take action pretty fast on stuff, but if there's a job that I need to do that I don't want to do, I always tend to procrastinate. And you don't want to do that in real estate. You want to move quickly on stuff. Okay. So then once you've got that list, you've got a list now. You've got the side that you love to do and that you're good at. You got the side that, hey, I don't want to do these things. I'm not good at them. Now you have to decide who's going to do those things. Okay, who are you going to find to do those things? I think most of you guys know who Amanda is. She's in a lot of the training, and I hired Amanda, I want to say it's 9 years ago now. And Amanda didn't have any real estate experience at all. When I hired her, she had never even bought her own house. But I wrote down this list. I did this exact exercise 9 years ago. I wrote the list, wrote the side of the things I don't like to do and not good at. Guess what? That became the interview sheet that I used to hire Amanda. She happened to be good at the things I was bad at, okay, or didn't like to do. Now, here's the thing that caught me off guard that I wasn't expecting. I had figured I was working a ton of hours before I hired Amanda. Tons and tons and tons, all day, all night. And those things I wasn't fast at, but I didn't know I wasn't fast at them. I thought I was good at everything and nobody can beat me at anything. And so I give those things to Amanda. I expect her to take 40 hours a week to do those things. I hand them off to her. What I could do in 40 hours, she was getting done in 10, maybe 15 tops. And all of a sudden I didn't have enough work for her. So that's one thing that a lot of times people think they need when they hire a virtual assistant the first time. They think they need a full-time one. A lot of times you don't. You could probably keep most of the stuff you're doing with 10 to 15 hours with a virtual assistant. So in other words, if you hired a virtual assistant for $4 an hour, I'm not saying you can get one for $4. I've hired a lot for $4 to $6 an hour is my range on most. But if you had a virtual assistant for $4 an hour and you kept them busy for 10 hours a week, which could equate to 20 to 30 of your hours for the week, all of a sudden you freed up 20 to 30 of your hours for $40 for the week. You know, that's pretty cheap. Well, you might say, well, man, my money's tight and I don't have the extra $40. Well, let me tell you how to get it. Stop drinking Starbucks, stop drinking bottled water, drink water out of the tap. And I used to buy macaroni and cheese by the case. I'm not telling you to do that. I gained a lot of weight doing that, but it was cheap and I saved the money. So, but I went without things like Starbucks. I went without things like bottled water. I just get a filter and just dump tap water in there, filter it out. And that's how I saved a little bit of money. And I'm not telling you guys you have to do that stuff forever. For me back then, $40 was a lot. Now it's, you know, I don't even know how much that is, but you don't have to do that very long before all of a sudden, guess what? You got 20, 30 extra hours in your week. You're doing income producing activities. Guess what? You're going to be closing deals way faster. All of a sudden, you're going to close a deal. You're going to make a couple $1,000s, maybe wholesale deal or more. And then all of a sudden then money isn't as, you know, tight. So if it's a VA that you're going to do, that you need, then that's who it is. You start looking for that one and just tell the VA, like you can hire VAs part-time all the time. I've done it so many times over the years. You don't have to keep them busy 40 hours. Tell them they want 10. Here's one cool thing about the Philippines virtual assistants. They're used to working for multiple people, because they don't all get full-time jobs. A lot of them just get part-time jobs. So they're okay with 10 hours. Now, if they're amazing, then, and they do a good job for you and you get busier and busier and busier, you start doing more deals, work up more hours with them. One thing that I just did, we hired a virtual assistant to help us in investor relations. I have an investor relations department in my company. That person works with a lot of investors and other people we sell houses to. And she did so amazing. She could only work for me 30 hours a week. That when I hired her, she says, hey, I've got another job, and I was paying her $6 an hour. She's like, I can only do 30 hours. I'm like, that's great, because that's all we really needed for the job. But she was so amazing that all of a sudden my team's like, hey man, we want her 40 hours. But she's like, yeah, she's got another job. I'm like, how much do we need to pay her to get her 40 hours? If she's that good, let's give her more money. So we offered her $8 an hour, and she quit her other job, and she was able to work for us 40 hours a week. And then that worked out great for her too, because she made more money, which is great. So you got to figure out who that person is that's going to do that job for you. And now that you have the list, you know what to tell the VA that you're interviewing on what you need done. Now, if it's a non-VA type job, let's say it's a boots on the ground position. Maybe you're doing a lot of rehabs. Maybe you're flipping a lot of houses, or you're working up to that. One of the other positions I hired early on was a project manager. I was doing a lot of flips. Not early on, maybe 4 or 5 years in. I was doing a lot of flips, and I didn't have time to be at the rehabs all the time, checking on the rehabs, plus doing everything else in the company. I was managing my own houses. I was finding all my own houses. I was dispositioning all my own houses. And then I had to do all these rehabs, and I didn't want to do that anymore. So I hired a project manager. And then that project manager can now, hey, he can go run and get the materials. He can go check on stuff. He can fill out the permits. He can, make sure that the thing's done right. He can go build the scope of work. He can do all that stuff. And that took a lot of time off my plate and allowed me to grow even further. So you have to figure out, of the things you're not good at, the things you don't like to do, who is going to fill that spot. Now, remember, one thing people give up on is they always think they have to hire a full-time person. Even on your project management, sometimes you can find, I kind of go to realtors a lot, because realtors, a realtor, one is they have a flexible schedule a lot of times, and they know real estate if you pick the right one. So sometimes, even like a project management, you might be able to find a realtor that can help you with something like that. And again, you have to interview them. You have to tell them what the job requires and all that. And you have to find the right one. But you might, if you don't have enough work for a full-time person, you could hire a realtor to maybe potentially help you, or somebody else. Here's the other thing. Sometimes you get into jobs where people work second shift and they want to work a part-time job during the day. You might be able to find a second shift guy working at a factory that also knows construction that can help you with the projects during the day and go run and get materials and do the other things that I just listed. So again, you have to just define who that's going to be and then start looking for that person. Now, you guys have, a lot of you guys have all my training, and I teach you guys how to hire. So you can go through that. I'm not going to go through that right now. So then the next thing that's important that you need, once you've clearly defined who that's going to be, the next thing is do you have the systems built that can train that person, and that you can hand off to that person so that they know what to do? Systems are the most important thing. If you don't have a written, and when I say system, a person's not a system. A system is a written document that tells you somebody a step-by-step process on how to do that particular job. Now, if you have Virtually Unemployed 2.0 or several other of my products, you'll see good written step-by-step processes. You don't have to recreate those for those jobs. I've already done that for you. Now all you have to do is put those things in place, plug the people into those systems. But there's other things out there that you may have to create your own system for. I use suiteprocess.com. Now, that's not a free website. It doesn't cost much. I haven't looked at the price in so many years, I don't even remember what it cost. But it's a great way to organize all your systems and store them there, and easy to push them to people. And just the way that it's built, it makes it very easy to build systems. So we use suiteprocess.com all the time, and we're constantly always adding new systems, building things out. So make sure you have a written process. I'm just telling you guys, you could hire an absolute rock star VA, and you don't plug them into a good system, they will crash and burn. They will fail. Okay. You've done all the things right. You interviewed, you found a good one. You hired a good one. You got a rock star. You didn't take the time to do a system or process, and now they're going to fail on you. Okay. So it's really important. Here's one other thing too, is if you guys have probably seen my Virtually Unemployed course, a lot of you guys probably have it, but you can skip, you can cheat. There's a cheat way if you don't want to use suiteprocess.com. This is how I did it in the beginning before I discovered SuiteProcess. I just did screencast-o-matic videos. Every time I needed to train somebody on something, I would just hit record on my computer, follow along with my mouse, click, 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 go around, show people how to do it, and I just record a video. I actually teach my my team right now. We use videos if we're in a hurry and we need to train somebody quickly on something. We actually create we just film a quick video, and then we can convert that video into a SuiteProcess, which also, by the way, if you have a virtual assistant and you film the video, always be thinking how you could push something off your plate, almost to be to the point as you're lazy. I'm so good at delegating, mainly because I just don't want to do the stuff, and I hate to say that, but that's just how it is. But I could create a video, a how-to video, going from screen to screen, teaching people how to do step-by-step and get done with it at the end. Use that video to train a VA how to do that process, but then tell that VA, hey, go take this video and go to sweetprocess.com and build out the actual process for me. Here's an example of one. So I'll use the VA just to go back and recreate the whole thing. Now, as I've really progressed, I've gotten to the point where now my team is mature. Amanda is amazing. I can just text Amanda a voice text and just say, hey, Amanda, I want to create this. And I'll just describe what it is I want to create. Hey, I want to create a new, like one thing that just popped off to my top of my head because I just got new cash buyers from it today was we use Landglide as a process to get cash buyers. Every time we get a house under contract, we use Landglide to find all the buyers nearby that house. It's a great technique. It's in Virtually Unemployed 2.0. But when I discovered that, I didn't build the process to it. I just said, Amanda, you can use Landglide to find every owner of a property nearby. Every time we get a house under contract, I want a process written that we can send to a VA, that the VA finds and finds all the other owners in a 5-block area around that property. Then I want you to, in the process, we got to skip trace those addresses. And then from there, we need to text those buyers. We want to text them a quick message like, hey, I just bought a property near one that you already own. Are you looking for any other properties? Build that system. And let's do it every time we get a property. We did that today. And we got 3 new buyers on a property that I have. We just went in a 5-block area, pulled 3 new buyers. All of a sudden, they're loaded into our system. Now I don't know if any of them bought the property that was nearby, but next time, if they don't buy it this time, maybe they'll buy the next one. So that's the type of thing that I get to now is once you've taught your team and your team understands how you think, you can actually just literally not even have to film the video anymore like I do. I just give Amanda a voice text and she's so good. She puts the pieces together and builds me what I want. But in the beginning, I had to actually film videos. Then we went from videos to SweetProcess. So if you want to cheat and you don't want to do SweetProcess, just film a Screencast-O-Matic video. You can also use QuickTime Player. We've done both. And make a system. That's a really good way to do it. Now, once you have that video, just figure out how to catalog that video. A super simple way I'm telling you guys, I'm not techie at all. Although my company is very techie, I'm not techie. What I did was I would send myself an email with the video in the email and title it something I could search for. Like how to find cash buyers using Landglide. I would insert the video and email it to myself. And now every time I wanted to find that video and send it to somebody to teach them how to do it, I could just do a quick search in my email. It pops up, boom, I send it over to them. The other thing you can do is create a Dropbox that you put all the videos in, and you can keep it and store it in a Dropbox as well. But that's a good way to do it if you don't have SweetProcess. Personally, I love the written text version too. It helps people that like that type of way, and they're easy to modify that way. Okay. Now let's jump back. Let's think this through. Now you've made a list of everything that you've got your final outcome. You know where you want to be. You've made a list of all the things you don't like to do that you're not good at. You found and hired somebody to do those things. You created processes or used some of my processes to teach them how to do those things. Now they're doing those things. Guess what? What are you doing? You're working a lot less. I can tell you that. When I hired Amanda and I started handing some of this stuff off, I went from working 80 hours a week. I'll never forget this. Like I remember being dumbfounded. Here I am, an 80, 90, 100-hour a week guy for years. I hire Amanda. I start teaching her how to do this stuff. I hand stuff off. And I remember sitting around at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, like, I don't really know what to do with myself. She's doing everything. And I just never forget, like I had this sense of joy that I didn't have to work 1,000,000 hours anymore. And so you now, if you get to that point, you now have to do something. You still have to do the income generating activities that are worth, but that's not going to take all your time. So one of the things that you guys need to watch and create are your KPIs. Okay. You need to start building out your KPIs, the things that you should be looking at. A good business owner keeps an eye on the numbers. Okay. You have to know what's working, what's not working, and how to tweak. So for example, super simple stuff is, let's say you're, let's say you're doing fix and flips. I'll use something easy. We'll talk wholesaling too in a second. But let's say you're doing fix and flips and you hired a project manager, and now the project manager is running the fix and flips. Well, we need to know some super simple KPIs that can tell you if these things are on track. Like how many days, if I was doing fix and flips, I want to know how many days is it taking from the time I close to the time I list the property. How long is it taking to rehab the house? It's funny. I asked Tyler, I was sitting here downstairs in my house here this morning. Tyler comes to my house every day. And it's so funny. My team is so much smarter than me, but I was like, hey, Tyler, we need to create something in Podio that tells us how long it's taking a turnover. Once the turnover is called for punch list, how long it's taking for the guy to come in to do the punch list, because I heard a complaint that one person said it was all these days. And he's like, I already have that built. I already get a report on that every week. And I'm like, I didn't even know that. So anyway, he tells me, oh, it's 2.3 days, but from the time that happens. And then I was like, but he's like, what's odd though? He's like, I'm looking at this report. He goes, it's taking 40 hours from the time that the punch list is done before we list the house. And I'm like, wonder what the heck, why it's taking 40 hours. So that's the cool thing. Now I have something to go work on. Okay, I know the KPI, but how in the heck is it from the time we say to list a house, why is it taking almost 2 days to actually get it listed? I got to go work on that stat. So you got to start figuring out the KPIs, the key performance indicators on what it is that you need to adjust, because now you got your time back, right? You have your time back. You have to spend your time looking at the numbers and keep an eye on stuff and making sure people are doing their work. So those KPIs are going to vary for everything. Like in wholesaling, some of the most important KPIs you got to work on are your marketing stats. Okay, because most people spend, once you start doing real volume and you start spending real money on marketing, you got to make sure, you got to know a couple things. One, which marketing is working, which marketing is working best, which marketing is not working, and what the heck am I spending on leads? So one of the things we watch in marketing is we watch response rate. When I send out direct mail, I want to know how many people pick up the phone and call us and tell us that, hey, I'm interested in selling my house. So we have a response rate. Side note, I'm testing, I don't know, do you guys follow me on Instagram? Yeah. So side note, I'm beta testing a postcard that delivers an offer on it. Every single postcard has a specific offer for that house. It's like totally next level. Like think about the printer sending out 5,000 postcards. He's printing out a different number based on the address of every single. It's pretty cool. Anyway, I'm at almost a 4% response rate. That's unbelievable. A 4% response rate is out of this world, and I know that because my other top performing postcard is at a little less than 2%. So that's impressive. So now I can look at my response rate. That's one KPI. But then I need to know this. How much does that lead cost me? Like if I send out postcards and I get a lead and somebody calls me, how much does that lead cost me compared to a cold call lead, compared to a text lead? I need to know what those leads cost. I remember, again, I sometimes, sometimes I get focused on the next. I'm always trying new stuff. Like that's why we've gotten so good is I'm always thinking, I'm not afraid to spend money and try new stuff. A lot of times I waste money, but I try it. And if it works, great. But I'll remember I was talking to Amanda one day and I'm like, man, this cold calling thing is awesome. We're getting so many leads. I see the leads popping through. And Amanda goes, well, that's true, but our cost per lead is way higher than what it is for direct mail. And she's like, our cost per closed contract is out of this world higher. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, our cost per lead for our cost per closed contract with our postcard $600 and it's $2,900 for a cold call. And I'm like, whoa, we gotta change something here. I can't spend $2,900 to close a deal with a cold call if my postcard's at $600. So that's the cool stuff. When you're watching KPIs, you may not realize all I'm seeing is all these leads popping in from cold calling, not realizing I'm spending way more money. Now we adjusted things and we got that number way down, but until I looked at my KPIs, I didn't know that. See how important that is? Like I was throwing money away. So now, I mean, think about it. All of a sudden, I could send out, if you're at $600 for a postcard and $2,900 for a cold call, I can send out 5 times as many postcards? You know how many more leads I would get if I sent out 5 times as many postcards as I did with cold call? It would blow it out of the water. That's why it's important. You're spending money, that money has to produce. It's kind of cool because you guys probably know I sell Podio, my Podio Powerhouse. And one of the cool side benefits of that is when somebody has a current Podio and they want to switch to ours, we extract all of their current data from their current Podio and put it in their new Podio that they buy from me so they don't lose any information. Well, in that process, we get to look at all their stuff. So I get to see like how I compare to other people. We had a really, really big wholesaler that does 7 figures by my Podio. And so we extracted all his data and pushed it over into his new one and all that. And Tyler's like, oh man, he's like, our average cost per lead is $15. His average cost per lead is $60. So it was kind of neat to see some of that stuff. Now he's in a different market, way more expensive. Doesn't mean that I'm better. It means that my cost per lead's a lot less, but he's making, if I'm doing an average deal of $7,000 wholesale fee and he's at $50,000, well, maybe his is a better deal and he's actually his cost per closed contract is actually less. So you can't always just look at that stuff. You got to look at the big picture. But it was neat to watch. Like, man, when people have asked me, they're like, how in the heck is all your stats so low compared to the national average? And it's just like, man, I've just been doing this for so long, getting that stuff dialed in. But I know that because of our KPIs. So you have to make sure you guys are watching your KPIs. And as you get more time and you're not as busy in your business, so you guys ever hear the old saying, like, you should be working on your business and not in your business? You guys ever hear that? What that means is working on your business is looking at your KPIs and seeing what you need to adjust. Working in your business is being so busy you can't even look up and adjust anything, which causes more frustration, which causes less profit, which causes more expenses. You've got to be able to take a look. I tell you, there's times I veer off. I get so busy on something else and I'm not paying attention to certain KPIs. And then I find out about it. I'm like, holy crap, we're throwing money away. And we make simple adjustments that save me $10,000 a week. It's crazy. Our numbers are big now. So, a $5,000 or $10,000 savings isn't hard to do per week if we are watching the right numbers and do the right adjustments. So it's just crazy how important they are. I can't tell you enough. Now, when you're getting started, you got other things to worry about. You're just trying to close deals, right? KPIs will become more important, and the quicker that you pay attention to them, the more money you will make. I promise you that. So, you got to get good at that. By the way, if you have rental portfolio, that's a whole separate KPIs that you got to look at. If you're fixing and flipping, that's a separate KPIs. If you're doing, Wholesaling, that's separate KPIs, more of what we just talked about. So as your company grows, like my list of KPIs that I really need to look at, it's pretty long, and we try to shorten it up as best we can and just look at the other stuff that we can. So so what ends up happening is one day you wake up, your other people are doing the everyday tasks that you don't like to do, you're not good at, and you've got a grip on the KPIs, and you can operate the company from above and work on your business. Then what you have to do is, remember I said, once you see the KPI, now you have to know how, you have to be able to adjust and fix things if they're not right. So you have to create training programs, okay? So as your team grows, you can start with one person. You have to train them. That's part of your working on your business. If you have, we do daily huddles in my company. The daily huddles, each department does. So, you know, we want to be training people doing this stuff so that they're always learning, right? If you have a sales team, if you have one sales guy, and you know how to sell and you just hire them, you better have some kind of a system where you can touch base with them once a day for 15 minutes or 10 minutes or 3 times a week, whatever, to talk about bottlenecks. Okay. One of my favorite questions, and if any of you guys have ever really text me much through Instagram, one of the question I probably ask people 50 times a day is, what's your biggest bottleneck? What's your biggest bottleneck right now? And so I ask people that because I try to find out, that leads me to the root cause of what the heck's going on with them and where their frustrations are at. And so I do the same thing with my team when I'm training my team. Like I got on a call with the girl that runs my office yesterday for literally 10 minutes is all it takes. Hey, what's your biggest bottleneck? What's your frustrations? What's going on right now? She's like, oh, well, I got this, and this going. Okay, let's figure out how to solve that. That's what working on your business is. And that's what you should get to. You can't just leave everybody alone and hope that they work out. You have to be involved. And that's part of what I do. My 5 hours or so a week, I look at my KPIs and I'm involved with asking people what the heck's going on, quick little meetings, and just make sure everybody is on track. And then from there, you can scale. It's all about scale at that point. Need more leads, got to send out more marketing. More marketing gets more leads gets more leads to filter, more leads to filter gets more leads to make offers on, more leads to make offers on gets more leads to gets more deals that you get under contract. More deals you get under contract, the more deals you can sell. Okay, oh crap, I need more buyers. Okay, now I am selling more houses, I need more buyers. Okay, great. Now I'm buying this many and I'm selling this many. Now I need acquisitions person. Okay, now I need a dispositions person. And you just start scaling it up and you start building it out. That's how it works. And one day you wake up and you've got a real business. It's pretty cool. And you're making real money and you're happy because you're not doing the everyday stuff and still trying to solve the same problems you were solving a year ago. Same problems you were solving the year before that, and year before that. Like if you find yourself dealing with the same problems all the time, then that means you don't have a good system. Or if your system's amazing, you don't have a good person running the system. So always be aware of, hey, I seem to be running into the same problem all the time. Okay, I need to adjust my system. Or this particular person that works for me is just causing so much complexity. I got to get them out of my life. They just can't put it together. They don't care about my business. They just want a paycheck and they're not doing their work the way that I would want them to do it. Does that make sense? Not too high level, is it? I didn't scare you about growing your company, right? You start with one, you guys. You start with one, literally one virtual assistant. And you have them do the things that free up all your time that you don't need to do. And you can make way more money and you can be happier. And you know what? Some people don't grow beyond. I have a buddy, he does about 10 wholesale deals a month. And his team's he's just now growing. Like he's going to go to the next level now. He's going to add 2 or 3 more people. But he's had like 2 people work for him. He just wholesales. He's had like 2 people work for him for years. but he makes real money wholesaling 10 houses a month. And now he's like, I want to do 15 a month. So I got to hire another guy or two. It just really depends on what you want it to be. If you want to stick to like I tell people all the time, like I own a lot of rental properties. I do a lot of flips. But there's no easier life than wholesaling. Like literally, like if you want to live the good life, wholesale only. That's the good life, is you don't have a lot of other problems. Now you're going to pay a ton of money in taxes because you don't have any write-offs from like rental properties. You guys saw the whole Donald Trump thing that's in all over the news right now. He only paid $750 in taxes. I don't even know how long. I don't track that stuff. But the reason why is he has a lot of depreciation from his buildings he owns. I own hundreds of rental properties, not because I love owning rental properties. Yes, they bring in cash flow, but more importantly, they give me a lot of depreciation. And that's a huge tax benefit. If I'm wholesaling a lot of houses, selling a lot of houses and doing a lot of fix and flips, my tax bill is going to be enormous. So those are things that you need to think about. But if you want super simple life and live the good life, then wholesale, because it is simple and you can make a lot of money doing it. Way more than flipping, in my opinion, way more than rental properties. You just pay a lot more in taxes. So anyway, I'm going to leave it. You guys have any questions for anything I covered today? Any questions on anything that I've talked about you want to dive in deeper on?
Yeah, one of the things is you said you do a daily huddle when with your teams. How does that look? Or is it physical or is it by way of software or something?
Well, you can do them like now everything's going virtual, right? So you can do them through video if you want. Facebook, you can do you can create. What I did in my company is I created a little Facebook group just for the people in my company. That's one super simple way you could do something like that, and do like a little Facebook video to that whole group. Or if you are in a physical office, you literally do a little huddle, and with that huddle, we're talking literally, Kevin, we're talking like 10 minutes, 15 minutes tops. This is not like, oh man, I got to get a corporate office and I got to go meet, for an hour and blow a whole hour and waste a bunch of time. You want 10, 15 minutes. You basically want to go in there in these meetings. I always like to start with a win. Hey, everybody tell me like something good that happened yesterday that you did. Oh man, we did this and this guy was so happy and he sent us an email telling us how amazing we are. Okay, great. What's one of the things that we, you can talk stats too, Kevin, like you can actually go through stats. Like if you've got a sales team and they're doing cold calls. Okay, how many dials did everybody do yesterday? Let's go around the room. I got, I did, 800 dials. Okay, how many connects did you have? Well, I had, 72 connects. And you can talk stats, but I like to start it out with, what's something good that happened the day before. I like to talk stats of whatever it is that they're doing. And then I like to just finish up with, okay, hey, your job was to make 1,000 dials and you only did 800. What's going on? Like what's happening here? And so you can do a little coaching and training at the same time in those. And again, don't stretch them out. 15 minutes, that's all you really need. You need to get them back to work, get in the thing of, hey, we're not going to be in this long corporate meeting.
So is that at the start or at the end of the day? Or
at the start of your day. You want to do them at the very beginning.
And that's reflecting on the day before.
What's that?
And when the meeting in the morning is reflecting on the day before.
Yeah, you're reflecting on what happened yesterday. That way it gets them set for what's going on today. And here's the thing, it's tough. Like if you've set a benchmark, like this is what you need to be doing each day, and somebody's constantly short, like they're not making the benchmark that they should be, like whether it be number of dials or whatever, then eventually they're gonna like not make it, right? They're just maybe not cut out for it. And they'll discover that on their own.
Yes. Okay. So yeah. So now also you had mentioned with the Podio, I didn't know that you can actually transfer your stuff over, because I was using Podio, but I got your Podio system now and I just started completely over. But in my old one I have
get with Tyler on that. He'll help you transfer it over.
Okay. All right. Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Yep.
Now let me ask you this with regards to that. I know it's basically the acquisition side, but I was working on trying to build out the rehab side of things with my other Podio. But do you still offer that as well?
Yeah, we have the rehab side as well. We have rehab turnovers. I mean, I've got more money in that side than I actually have on the acquisition side, and it is amazing, absolutely amazing. Are you doing a lot of rehabs?
Yeah, I do quite a bit of rehab.
Yeah.
I do.
We can talk about it offline. I can share
Okay.
some more stuff with you on it, but it's unbelievable. There's nothing like it.
Okay. Great.
Any other questions anybody has on any of this stuff?
I had one question.
Yeah.
Just wondering, since I'm starting out, just why was it that your cold calling was 2,900 per and your postcards were 600? What's the main difference between that?
Well, some of it has to do with people. Every area in the country is a little different, right? But some people, they see their phone, they see a number come in that that they don't recognize, and they won't ever answer that call. So we were spending money like the person, you have the Mojo dialer, you have your cold caller, you have the list you're buying, you got the skip trace, and you're making calls, and you're not getting connects, and you're not getting any. So and it could be the person on the phone too. If you're using I learned this through just doing this, but if you're using somebody that's on the phone that has a really bad heavy accent, like you didn't do a good job of making sure their English was really, really good, then soon as somebody says hello and they say, hey, my name is this, and you can tell that they sound foreign, click, So there was a few things that we had to tweak that, we tweaked our script a little bit. We tweaked who was calling. We tweaked a few other things. We did a little bit different stuff with skip tracing, and we got better connection. We bring that number down. So, but that's why. But postcard, one thing I love about them, I love postcards. I'm telling you guys, it's my favorite way. That somebody gets a physical thing. They got a physical thing that they might not be interested today, but they get a magnet. They put that postcard up on their refrigerator and I'm going to call this guy when I'm ready to sell. So I like that about postcards too. And a postcard doesn't have to be opened. They can just see it. It's, oh wait, this is cool. I'm going to look at it, and they read it real quick. So to this day, I'd have to review this again, but texting can be pretty cheap as well, because it doesn't cost hardly anything to send a text, but everybody is texting now. So that numbers have gone up, but they're pretty cheap too. Like I typically tell people, when you start marketing, start with texting and maybe cold calling first, because it's some of the cheapest ways you can get started. But postcards, I love. It's just a little more expensive. You got about 50 cents a piece to send them. Plus you got to buy your list and all that. So, but they do work. They work really well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions anybody has?
Yeah. So with the list, you use the same list that you do postcards. You send them postcards. You do the text as well as the cold call.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So you pull a list. Now you have that list. You can use that for direct mail. If you're going to cold call, now you just skip trace the list. You can cold call from that same list. And then if you're going to text, you can use that same list and skip trace and text as well. You should do it all. You should really beat these lists up, right? You should ring them out for everything they've got before you move on. And we hit everybody, 5-6 times before that list really dies out. Personally, our best performing list, and again, guys, I watch every KPI. Exact Data is our best list, and nobody's using them other than me. I found them by accident and built a relationship with them, and it's a really good list. ListSource is the worst one we use. The only thing worse than ListSource is probably that software you can buy that everybody has now. The list is terrible. Is that called PropStream?
Yeah.
PropStream, not good. Cheap, really cheap. You can get the data super cheap, but you're getting what you pay for. So many people, I'm telling you, I have a lot of calls where people's like, man, my direct mail's not working. And the first thing I ask them, like, what postcard you send? Well, I'm sending the Google View. I'm like, well, that's a good postcard. Where are you getting your list? Well, I got it from PropStream. I'm like, well, that's your problem. Stop sending the prop stream, send exact data. And literally 2 weeks later, they're like, man, I can't believe it. I'm getting all these calls now. Everybody's calling me for my postcards. It's the list. You go cheap on the prop stream, it's not going to perform.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's important to watch KPIs. All right. Any other questions, you guys? You all good?
No. Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, it's good seeing you guys. Glad you were here. Hope you learned a lot. And we'll catch you guys the next time. Kevin, I'll have Tyler reach out to you on the Podio stuff.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. We'll see you guys.
Okay.
Bye.